changes are going to have to be made. With the Detroit Lions 29-24 loss today to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their playoff hopes are essentially over. We have less than, I believe, a 15% shot to make the playoffs now. There is now only one way the Detroit Lions can now make the playoffs. That is with the Lions winning out. They have to obviously beat the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears in Week 18. And they have to have the Packers lose out. The Packers face Baltimore Ravens next week. And then in Week 18, they face the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings, I heard J.J. McCarthy got hurt today. I don't know how significant the injury is. Hopefully he's actually not that hurt, because if Max Brosmer has to be the starting quarterback in Week 18, there's no shot that the Packers are losing that game. And I just saw that Lamar Jackson must have got hurt as well in the game right now that's going on in Sunday Night Football, as Tyler Huntley came in and joined the game. So, yeah, essentially the Detroit Lions 2025 season is over, and we have to look on to the 2026 season. And we keep having to say, next year. That's just what we're gonna have to continue to do, and we're gonna do something a little bit different. I'm not even gonna go over the player stats in this game. I'm just gonna go over the team stats, and I'll bring up some of the player stats throughout the video when I'm talking about what needs to change and what needs to happen. But there's no point in going over the player stats now. The season is essentially over, and the videos are too long. I've understood that for a long time, just haven't been able to get it down, the video length down. But it's gonna be down in this video because it's not going with the player stats. Team stats: Pittsburgh Steelers 41 total yards to the Lions 361. Aaron Rodgers can still play, man. Aaron Rodgers at 42 years old can still play. He was slinging the ball today, and the defense got obliterated. It held its own for the first half. Only allowed 10 points. Really only should have been 3 or 6. Probably only should have been about 6 what we allowed in the first half. But Kenneth Gainwell caught an amazing pass for the touchdown. I believe it was about a 45-yard touchdown. Caught an amazing pass. And if that did not happen, who knows? Maybe we would have only allowed 6 points in the first half. So the first half they played very well. The second half was abysmal. But Roger, he was killing us, man. He knows how to read defenses. Still can throw that rock, man. Sling that football, and he killed us. He really, really killed us. It was unbelievable today how good their offense was, the Pittsburgh Steelers, compared to ours. Running game just could not get going for us. They had 230 rushing yards compared to our 15. 15. I mean, that is just unbelievable. Part of us, again, because you see him on the thumbnail, we're not using Dave Montgomery like we should be. I don't understand it. We have to get an offensive coordinator in the offseason. That is something that has to change, is we have to get a new offensive coordinator, and Dan Campbell has to quit calling plays, because it just doesn't work. All the casual NFL fans and stuff like that, they see the Lions, average 30 whatever points per game in the league, which is second or first. Okay, you look at that, you're like, okay, this offense is unbelievable. It's one of the best in the league, all right? But when you watch the film, when you watch the play calling, or when you see the play calling, and when you see time management when the offense is on the field, which part of that is coaching, but most of that is coaching, but it's really bad right now. It's really, really bad. The Detroit Lions team as a whole is really, really bad right now. I know nobody cares, but I made a power rankings after the loss today, the first one I made, and I got us ranked as pretty low, I would say, on the power rankings. So I'll show you that at the end of the video. That nobody cares anyway, but I'm going to show you anyway. Passing yards, 251 for the Steelers, 346 for the Lions. Goff was surgical. 23 first downs for the Steelers, 23 for the Lions. Yards per play, 6.9 for Steelers, 5.2 for the Lions. Third down efficiency, they went 8 for 16, 50%. We went 6 for 15. Fourth down efficiency, they went 2 for 200%. We went 50%, going 1 for 2. Total plays, 70 to the Lions, 69. Sacks allowed, 2 for the Steelers, 3 for the Lions. The offensive line for the Lions today was abysmal. I will say Kingsley Aguakin made his first NFL start, and it was for the Detroit Lions, obviously. And I thought he held his own. I really thought he did. I just got to watch the film, but I thought Kingsley Aguakin played very well today. Now, one of those sacks that was allowed was, I believe, by Michael Neese, as he came in the game for about 2 snaps, in the third quarter, I think it was, or was actually it was the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think, and we ended up allowing a safety because Michael Neese had a low snap, and then I believe Tate Ratledge missed his block, and it just messed up the whole play, leading to a safety. Don't know why we put Michael Neese in the game. I don't know if a Glocken got hurt for a couple plays, and that's why Neese had to come in, or they benched a Glocken, put Neese in there, and then they realized Michael Neese is not very good at all, and they put a Glocken back in the game. But I thought a Glocken showed a lot of potential today to not necessarily be the Lions' long-term center, but be a really good depth option for the Lions at backup center. So I thought he held his own day, but the rest of the offensive line was abysmal. Ratledge, not a good day by him. Mahogany made his return today. I thought he struggled. He wasn't great in the first half of the season, but he wasn't great today either when he made his return. Decker really, really struggled today, in my opinion. Probably his worst game of the season. Got beat multiple times. The Detroit Lions did a lot of pull blocks from their guards today. Ratledge missed a block, so did Mahogany, just couldn't get there in time. The Lions struggled. Their offensive line struggled today. Kingsley and Sewell was their best offensive lineman today. Did not say Kingsley was perfect by any means, but he played a lot. He showed a lot of potential. So he really, really did. Punts, 3 for the Lions, 3 for the Steelers. Penalty yards, 8 for 89 for the Steelers, 7 for 40 for the Lions. Fumbles lost, 1 for the Steelers, 0 for the Lions. Interceptions thrown, 0 and 0. Goff did have multiple, though, that could have been picked off by Chuck Clark specifically. Time possession, 34 minutes and 6 seconds for the Steelers, 25 minutes and 54 seconds for the Lions. Tackles, 34 for the Steelers, 37 for the Lions. Field goals made of attempts, 2 for 3 for the Steelers, 1 for 1 for the Lions. Jake Bates 100%. Red zone made attempts. The Steelers went 0 for 3. They've killed us this game. You can tell they killed us because they went 0 for 3. If they would have converted on all those, this score would have been 40-24. Red zone made attempts for the Lions, 1 for 4. We had one that we decided to go for it on 4th and goal from the 3-yard line, I believe is what it was, early in the game in the first quarter. And we could not connect. A lot of people are asking, should we have kicked the field goal? I think we should have at that time because I thought this game was going to be low scoring and a very boring game. I'm like, Lions going to have to kick a field goal here to make this, more of a feel more safe for the rest of this game is probably the way to put it. And they decided to go for it. They didn't get it. So that was already not a good look. And just disappointment after disappointment happened after that. So, that's all I'm going to go over from the stats-wise here that I'm going to bring in. Players to highlight for the Lions. I thought J-Mo had a pretty good day today. 5 for 70. Did have a drop in there that he could have made. It wasn't a horrible drop, though. They probably actually didn't even list it as a drop. ESPN, but we'll see. But I thought he had a pretty good day, having 5 for 70. St. Brown, not a great day by him. Had another drop in there that could have potentially changed the game a little bit. He had 4 for 54 on the day. Isaac Tesla, probably his best day. Best game of his career. 4 for 52 and a touchdown. Now, he also had another possible touchdown catch there that he could not hold in. That would have possibly won us the game. But it is what it is. Now, if Isaac Tesla can do what he did in this game every single week, then yes, that pick was absolutely worth it. But in my opinion, he's not consistent. He cannot get open. And, he looked better today. He was getting more open today. But a lot of his catches were still contested catches. There was not many catches where he had open space. There was not. I think one of them he had open space on. The other 3 were contested catches. So, Isaac Tesla, great contested catch guy. Can make great one-handed catches. Great red zone target. But on certain situations, 1st and 10, stuff like that, short yardage situations where you need to pass the ball, don't put Tesla in the game. He can't get open right now. Khalif Raymond also had a very good day today. His best game of the season, 4 for 62 and a touchdown. He looked like a wide receiver 3 today. Looked like his 2022-2023 self. Not that it matters now. It's too late at this point to matter. He should have done that early in the season, but did have a good game today. Jahmyr Gibbs, 10 for 66 and a touchdown. Not bad by any means. But when you look at the rushing game, it's horrible. J-Mo 5 for 70, like I said. Running game was abysmal. Montgomery 4 for 14. Jahmyr Gibbs 7 for 2. Defense side of the ball, nothing to highlight. Hutchinson had 2 sacks, up to 11.5 now on the year, tying his career high. Al-Quidi Muhammad, I thought had a decent little game today, did not have a sack. Still sticks at 9.5. I'm hoping he can still get at least a half a sack to reach 10 double digits on the year. One throughout these last 2 games here. Thomas Harper had a forced fumble, and Jack Campbell had the fumble recovery. It was on Darnell Washington, the 270-pound, 6'7" tight end. I believe he's 6'8". 6'8" tight end. So that was a little nice punch out by Thomas Harper. But Thomas Harper got beat on a 60-yard touchdown. It wasn't 60-yard, but I think it was about a 40-yard touchdown run by Jaylen Warren. And then I think Maddox also got beat for a 40-yard touchdown by Jaylen Warren. I don't know who got beat the second time around on that 40-yard touchdown run by Warren, but I believe it was Maddox. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Like I said, this on their side of the ball, Rodgers balled out of his mind. He really, really did. Jaylen Warren played out of his mind. Kenneth Gainwell continued to be one of the most surprising backs in the league this season. Adam Thielen, for once, doing something this season. Metcalf was pretty quiet. I know he had that altercation with the fan on the sideline. Don't know what that was about. That was not a good move by Metcalf at all. I don't understand why NFL players do stuff like that. He's definitely going to get suspended. We held their tight ends in check, I would say, for the most part. They did have quite a bit of receptions, but not a lot of yardage in there. Kyle Duggar, their safety, had a sack. Keanu Benton, their defensive tackle, had a sack. And 40-year-old Cameron Hayward had a sack. Keanu Benton also had a forced fumble. And that's about it to highlight from them. Chris Boswell, like I said, missed a field goal. And it's just, I don't know, man. I really don't know. The Detroit Lions 2025 season is essentially over. This game is just the way to picture the Detroit Lions 2025 season. It really is. It's the way to show what the Detroit Lions 2025 season has been. Truly. Lions fall to 8-7 on the year. The final play of the game, or the final drive of the game we'll talk about, is where the Lions could have had a chance to win the game. Obviously, they're down by 5. They're getting a lot of calls going their way, driving down the field. And then they end up in 1st and goal with, I believe, about 20 seconds left. They score the touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown with about 20-some, I think it's about 23 seconds left on the clock. They score a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown. After the play, the refs throw a flag. Apparently, Isaac TeSlaa made contact with a defender for offensive pass interference. So that ended up getting taken away. So it was a 10-yard penalty. We were, I believe, at the 5-yard line on that 1st and goal. It was a 10-yard penalty. We moved back. 10 yards. So we're about at the 15-yard line. 12, 15-yard line, somewhere around there. All right. And then we have a false start by Kingsley Walken. I didn't really see him flinch too much, but apparently he flinched enough to cause the false start. I'm sure the pointing by the Steelers defense helped. But you move back another 5 yards, probably around the 18 to 20-yard line is where they were at. We're about the 20-yard line. And they get a couple chunk plays in there. But obviously the clock is running down. They had to use their final timeout as they connected with a Gibbs 10-yard catch that put him back down. It was actually more than that. It was about a 10, 15-yard catch that put him down to about the 8-yard line, somewhere around there, 7-yard line. And then calling a timeout, the final timeout. And then they decided to run the ball multiple more times. And it's just like, I not run the ball, but they should have ran the ball. But they decided to pass the ball is what I was trying to say. A couple more times. Now, I understand why you would do that. I thought they should have. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't even remember what happened at the end of the game besides the final play where the Detroit Lions threw it to St. Brown. St. Brown ended up having offensive pass interference, so it neglected what happened anyway. But St. Brown caught the ball at the 1-yard line, couldn't get in. He flipped the ball back to Jared Goff. Kingsley Walken was blocking downfield, and Jared Goff dove into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. As they did call a touchdown, which was crazy, but then obviously the offensive pass interference push off by St. Brown, which was definitely a penalty. So I don't want to hear anybody saying, any Lions fans saying that wasn't a penalty. It was a clear penalty. You can't do what he did right there. Offensive pass interference negates the touchdown, and since there was 0 seconds on the clock when the penalty happened, not when the penalty happened, but when the play ended, the game is over. So, regardless of what the penalty is. So, that is just the way to sum up your Detroit Lions 2025 season. I really can't remember, I'm going to be honest, what plays happened at what time after all those penalties that the Lions had after the pass interference and the false start by Kingsley. I really don't know what happened after that besides the last play. I'm going to be completely honest with you because that's erased by my mind at this point. But the Detroit Lions have a lot of decisions and changes to make in the offseason. Like I said, we still have about a 15% shot, I believe, according to ESPN, to make the playoffs by us winning out and the Packers losing out in the final two games. But that's just not going to happen. It's not. So the Detroit Lions, obviously you're still fighting. You're still got grit mentality here. You're still fighting. You're still doing all this. But the team is not in a good state right now. I don't think they got much confidence, the team. I don't think the locker room has much confidence. Hell, I don't even think Dan Campbell has any confidence. If you'd seen this press conference after the game today, it looked like he was continuing to just having no confidence in his football team. He's looked like that for the past couple weeks, ever since they lost to the obviously since they lost to the Rams, and when they lost to the Packers on Thanksgiving. Ever since that game, when we lost the Packers on Thanksgiving, he has looked extremely down on his football team in his end-of-game press conferences, besides the win, obviously, against the Cowboys. So, I don't think he has much confidence in this football team. I don't think anybody has confidence in this football team. I don't think the fan base does, rightfully so. And let me know in the comments down below if you have any confidence. But it's just the Detroit Lions have tough decisions to make. They got to get an offensive coordinator in the offseason. Not trading for a player at the deadline was continuing to be an issue. The fact that we did not address that. I don't care what it was. It could have been a guard. Could have been a defensive end. Obviously, would have loved for it to be a defensive end, but offensive line is continuing to struggle. We are a below-average offensive line right now. DJ Reed is continuing not to play great right now. He's in a big rut. I do think he'll get out of it, but he's not playing currently at the moment. Like a $42 million cornerback, I believe is what he signed him to. He's just not playing like it. And I believe it's 48 is what we signed him to. Not playing like that. And the rest of the secondary is not playing great either. Not playing great. It's just not. Maddox got hurt in this game. Late in the game. I have no clue what the injury is. I'm hoping it is cramps, but it was I don't know. I didn't see the play where he got hurt, but I saw him walking off very gingerly with trainers under his own power, but very gingerly with trainers by his side. And so I don't know what the injury was. Hopefully it's just cramps and not an Achilles or ACL. But if it is an Achilles or ACL, obviously it would be the worst case scenario, but that would put him out obviously for the rest of the season and for half, if not most, of next season. Obviously not under contract with us next year. We probably wouldn't bring him back regardless, but I mean, that just sums up the Lions season. So if that is the case, Daniel Thomas will take over then as safety, is the other starting safety opposite Thomas Harper for the Lions, unless if they end up elevating DeMonte Casey or finally have Jalen Mills play. But I just don't even know, man. Let's go over the Lions roster moves, and then we'll wrap this video up. I'm just so deflated, man. I really, really am. So, earlier in the week, they only made one set of roster moves. Eric Howard ended up getting poached by the Tennessee Titans after the LA Rams lost last week. So, he is no longer with the Detroit Lions. He wasn't a bad safety, wasn't a great safety, former 6th-round pick by the Jaguars. He started for us last week in the absence of Thomas Harper. Didn't play great, but he's been a decent depth safety for us this season when he's had to fill in. So he's no longer with the team, unfortunately. Now with the Titans, we ended up signing UDFA cornerback from this past year, Keenan Garber. Go over his stats right now. He obviously does not have any NFL stats currently. He's a UDFA from this year's draft from Kansas State, 6', 188. Spent 3 years with Kansas State. First year, nothing, 1 total tackle. Second year, 22 total tackles, a pick. That ended up resulting in a pick 6 with 4 passes defensed. In 2024, 29 total tackles, 5 passes defensed, and another interception. So nothing too crazy when it comes to his stats. He did not have a draft profile either. I looked at that. So that means this guy wasn't probably very well known heading into the draft either. So I don't think this guy will be with us, by the way. with after the next 2 games, because once the Lions got to sign their future deals, their players from their practice squad to future deals, they have the option to choose a certain amount of players and which players. I don't think Keenan Garber will be one of them, so probably just a 2-week stay for Keenan Garber, but they want to go over that. And then the roster moves that I announced for game day on yesterday was they ended up placing safety Kirby Joseph on injured reserve, ending his 2025 season, regular season at least. But again, in my opinion, the Lions are not making the playoffs, so his 2025 season is over. Hopefully he can get surgery in the offseason, and he should be ready for hopefully the 2026 season. But I know he's got a lingering injury right now, and hopefully he didn't re-aggravate it to where he's going to miss any next season. But he's done for the year. They activated Mahogany from IR, and they elevated Kingsley and tight end / fullback Giovanni Ricci from the practice squad for this game. Did not see Ricci much in this game. I saw him a couple plays early, and then I did not see him after that. So I don't know if he got hurt or he just was not playing well. But there's your Detroit Lions roster moves, and there's your Detroit Lions versus Steelers review. Lions playoff hopes are essentially over. And we're going to have to move on to 2026 where questions have to come. You see Brad Holmes on the thumbnail. I really hope Brad Holmes realizes that he has to do something in the offseason. He has to try to make this team better to make the Super Bowl next year. He has to. So in my opinion, if the Detroit Lions do not make the Super Bowl next year, serious questions will start to come about the future of the Detroit Lions staff, and specifically Brad Holmes. Because when you look at his drafts from the past couple of years, and him in free agency, really his whole entire tenure with the team, but specifically the past 2 years, it has not been good. In the 2024 NFL Draft, they selected Terrion Arnold. Struggled significantly his first year. Second year was not off to a good start. Played very, very well these past few games before he ended up landing on IR with the shoulder surgery, putting him out for the year. Ended up playing very well, but we'll really get to see what player he is next year when he returns. And Rakestraw has only played a couple games for the Detroit Lions so far, as he has been hurt and he's not played well when he's been in the game. All right? Has not played a game this year. Been out for the year with a season-ending injury. They did not have a third-round pick. They ended up trading up with a future third-round pick in 2025 draft, in 2024, in the 4th round, to select Giovanni Manu, who the Detroit Lions, by the way, did open his window this past week. He has been abysmal so far. Was a healthy scratch every single game his rookie year, and when he had to fill in and start in the absence of Taylor Decker in one of the games against the Bengals this year, he was abysmal. He has not played well at all when he stepped in so far. I knew he was a developmental piece, but he's been abysmal. We traded a future 4th round pick to draft Sione Vaki as well in the 4th round. Great special teamer, has not been involved on the offense at all. Not mad at that one, because probably was going to take him multiple years to be involved in the offense. He's been a great special teamer, but he also cannot stay healthy, so there's that. And then for the rest of the draft, you got Mahogany. He's been decent so far, nothing spectacular. And then in the 7th round, you did not take anybody, I don't think. I could be wrong there. I can't remember. But the 2025 draft, you take Tyreek Williams, who in my opinion has been very disappointing this year. Very, very disappointing. I did not love him coming out of the draft. Not very athletic. And I know his comparison was Aleem McNeil, but to me, 90% of the time, he lacked athleticism to get pressure specifically, but also just make moves to try to attempt to tackle some ball carriers. He's been abysmal this year in the pass rush game. Probably didn't make any sense what I just said. I have no clue what I'm talking about. I mean, I really do, but I have no clue right now what I'm talking about because I have no clue what I'm saying. I really don't know what I'm talking about. I really, really don't know what I'm talking about in the mic right here. But Tyreek Williams has not been good in the pass rush game at all this year. Run game not been great either. He's been, in my opinion, one of the more disappointing Detroit Lions players this whole entire season. We took him at the 28th overall pick. 28th. All right. 2nd round, we take Tate Rowledge. That's been a fine draft pick. Hasn't been great. Definitely had a rookie struggles. Been good in the run game. Not been good in the pass game. So it's been all right so far. In the third round, you trade up Isaac Tesla. You trade 2 future third-round picks in your third-round pick you had that year to trade up in the third round to get Isaac Tesla. He's been caught a lot of spectacular catches this year, caught a lot of touchdowns, but he's not made enough of an impact on the offensive side of the ball to do anything. And then the rest of the draft so far really hasn't played. I mean, you've got Miles Frazier, who's looked pretty decent when he stepped in so far. And then you got Dominic Lovett, who's only played on special teams. He's been a healthy scratch the past couple games. So that's it for rest. And obviously drafted Ahmed Hassanin, who's been on the practice squad and not on the team this year due to injury. So there's the draft and free agency, nothing to go over. He replaced Carlton Davis by signing DJ Reed. You could say that's an upgrade. You could say it's not. All right, you did that. You signed Marcus Davenport the previous year. He's been abysmal for us, really, specifically because he can't stay healthy. And the class from the past 2 years, but everything's been abysmal. So next year, I really next year when I'm talking about the offseason, I really hope he understands that he has to do something to make this team better to hopefully make the Super Bowl next year. Because if he doesn't, serious questions are going to start to come about his future and the rest of the Detroit Lions staff's future. But these are my power rankings right now. You can pause the video and check out where your team is at. But I got the Lions at 17. I don't think any team under here is better than them currently. But I do think even though we beat the Bengals early in the year, I think with Joe Burrow returning, I think they're a better football team than us currently. And I think every other team that's obviously ahead of the Lions, I think is a better team. And I think we would lose to right now if we face them. So I just do not think the Detroit Lions are a good football team right now. Their season's essentially over. And we'll see what happens in the offseason. But, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Christmas, as I will not see you until Christmas Day. I don't know if I'll make a video Christmas Day, no matter if we win or lose. If we obviously lose, we will be eliminated from the playoffs if we lose next week. But I don't know if I'll make that video on Christmas Day. Obviously, when we play, I might wait the next day. The day after Christmas to make a video, but we'll see. Anyway, enjoy your Christmas if I do not see you for Christmas. Obviously, probably not going to be the best this year since the Lions essentially eliminated from the playoffs, but anyway, enjoy it. If I do see you on Christmas, I'll see you on Christmas. So, one pride, go Lions, on to 2026.